I'm a 39-year-old man, and I've been married to my 36-year-old wife for 15 years. We also have a 13-year-old son. My family includes my 58-year-old mom, 62-year-old dad, 30-year-old sister, and 22-year-old younger brother. Last year, I discovered my wife crying in our bedroom. I comforted her, and she informed me that she was pregnant. I was overjoyed and told her it was great news. However, her demeanor changed, and she admitted that it wasn't mine before leaving the room, which was quite strange. During that time, I also noticed she was spending excessive time on her phone. Due to the high COVID situation, I took care of everything alone, including cooking and cleaning. She eventually gave birth to a healthy baby girl who looks just like her mother, cute as can be. Fast forward to last month, and this month, my brother started visiting us more frequently, which I initially didn't mind, considering he's my younger sibling. This month, we spent 2 weeks at our parents' place. I noticed my wife getting uncomfortably close to my brother. Even though I was the primary breadwinner for both families and managed my father's shops and worked as an investment banker, it seemed odd to me that she was spending more time with my brother instead of my sister, with whom she was close before. My sister also seemed like she had something to tell me, but when I asked, she reassured me that everything was fine. Last week, my father asked me to go fishing with him, just the two of us. During our time together, he shared stories about fishing and how he had spent time with his own father in the same place. He praised me for being a good son and expressed his disappointment in my brother, who lacked goals, didn't work, used medical substances, smoked, and had a drinks problem. My father wasn't very close to my younger brother, but my mom was. As we were leaving, he handed me a fishing kit and a small note, instructing me to read it after he had gone. When I opened the note, my whole world turned upside down. It was a DNA test, revealing that I wasn't the father of my daughter. I rushed back home to the family home where everyone was and confronted my wife and brother. They both admitted it and apologized, saying it was a mistake. I learned that this had been going on for a year, and they were in love. My wife tried to console me, acknowledging that she couldn't change what had happened and would always be sorry for me. Despite being a perfect husband, father, and son, I couldn't be a good lover because I spent too much time outside the home. My sister chimed in, revealing that she knew about the affair but couldn't bring herself to tell me. My mother came with the baby and explained that she couldn't change the situation. My wife and brother already had a baby together, and my son had grown attached to the child. I was the older brother, and I was expected to forgive them and move on. I was devastated and couldn't understand how my own family could betray me like this. I told my wife that I didn't want to compete for her with other men, despite her being my wife, and informed her that she would receive divorce papers. I also confronted my brother, who had backstabbed me after all the support I'd given him, and then I left. My phone was flooded with calls and messages. My father expressed his support, but couldn't openly say much due to my mother. He apologized for being a bad father, and informed me that my mom was aware of the affair, but hadn't spoken about it. I told him I didn't care, and didn't want a family that betrayed me. I told him he could cut me off from the family after the divorce. I haven't informed my wife's family yet. My soon-to-be ex-wife calls me over 100 times a day and texts that my son misses me. My brother hasn't reached out to me, but my sister apologized, saying she should have told me and that I was her role model, of whom she was always proud. I haven't replied to them at all. My mother called me to say that we all make mistakes, and we can become a family again if I choose to forgive. She hinted that my children need a father figure, and if I can't be there, my brother could step in to take care of the family. She mentioned that the court might not grant me custody, and if she stands up for them, it could complicate things for me. This made me really angry, so I blocked her. I haven't spoken to any of them in the last 2 days. Divorce can be costly, but that's just how it is. I haven't shared this with anyone. I've been having trouble sleeping and can't eat anything. I feel like I've lost my reason to live. In just a week, I've lost everything. My family, my wife and kids, my dignity. I feel like there's no purpose left in my life, at least for now. I talked to my lawyer. I need to file for divorce now. The lawyer mentioned that I might have to pay spousal support, and getting primary custody will be challenging. As for the legal process to disestablish the parent-child relationship with my daughter, even though I love her, even if she's not biologically mine, it will take a long time to finalize. Divorce can be expensive in our area, and I'm looking at around $900 a month for spousal support for her and my daughter, 50/50 custody of my son, and splitting our assets. I also realized that I mentioned a DNA test, but it was actually a paternity test for my daughter and brother, which confirmed a 99% match. Yes, it's a disturbing fact that my brother was only 7 years old when my wife and I got married. Update. This is a brief update on my situation. I initially thought things might improve with time, but they've actually gotten worse. I left my home after discovering the truth and organized my finances, consulted lawyers, and began the divorce process. I received the divorce papers last Friday. My wife came over, and we had a conversation. She expressed her desire to avoid a divorce for the sake of our son. She apologized and admitted her fault, but I insisted on going through with the divorce and gave her the papers. Surprisingly, she tried to initiate closeness, but I asked her to leave. On Saturday, my sister, who lives in the Netherlands and had come for a vacation, left early following a heated argument that involved my wife and mother. She called me, and we talked. She apologized for her part in the situation, explaining that our mom had asked her not to tell me. Mom was concerned about my well-being and how I would react. My younger brother had pressured Mom into making this decision. This shed light on the situation, but it doesn't make me feel any better. Some of you doubted the authenticity of my story, and I wish it were fake. You can choose to believe it's true, and my life is currently a mess where I feel helpless and everything is falling apart. Or you can choose to ignore it. It's your choice. I also spent time with my son on Saturday, taking him to a popular gaming zone. I explained my plans to him, and he already knew. My mother cries every day, my wife is lost, and my younger brother is involved in substance misuse and neglecting responsibilities. My sister and I have decided to disassociate ourselves from the family and reject any inheritance. I intend to cut ties with the family and move to a different country. My sister has offered to help if I decide to move to the Netherlands after a year of the divorce. It's not easy. The days are long and tough, especially when I think about the incident. I've lost count of how many times I've been sick. My blood pressure is significantly low, and my sugar levels are off. Yesterday afternoon, my father called to inform me that my mother is in the hospital. She had a severe stroke and collapsed during lunch. Her condition is not great. My dad said she wants to see me, and the doctors have asked us to pray. Her condition isn't stable enough for her to be discharged. My wife is handling everything for now, and my brother is only visiting for a short time. My newborn daughter, along with my son and dad, is with my wife at the hospital. Dad told me this could be it, and he wants me to visit her. I've informed my sister, who is conflicted about it. I'll be honest, part of me wants to see her, but the larger part doesn't. She's my mother, no matter what, but she chose to betray me, hurt me, and support my wife. It wasn't the affair that bothered me. It was the betrayals from my family and how they knew everything, but didn't tell me. My own mother even threatened to cut me off from the family. Now, suddenly, she's in the hospital and wants to see me. I'm not feeling good or happy about this at all. I think about self-destruction every day. Therapists have been unhelpful, just offering a place to vent. They're a waste of money. Many of my relatives visited my mom in the hospital. Word about my wife's affair has spread to some close relatives. My favorite uncle criticized her harshly in the hospital, but my teenage son managed to calm him down. It's a complete mess. I've talked to a few friends and they advise me to go through with the divorce, move on, relocate to another country, and start fresh with someone else. But right now, I can't plan anything. I'm lost. I've also consulted my lawyer, who told me I can claim my share of the inheritance if my mother hasn't made a will. I won't be able to get it if I reject my inheritance or if she cuts me off. None of that has happened, but I have no interest in money, inheritance, or family. I just want my son so I can break free from this dysfunctional family and regain my sanity. As for the paternity issue, it's going to be more complicated than the divorce itself. Cheating isn't a clear-cut deal-breaker in most places, but being a stay-at-home mom can be a significant factor. It may affect me in various ways. However, if I let go of my inheritance share, it could give me an advantage and potentially exempt me from paying spousal support. But it all depends on mutual agreement. Right now, I'm torn between my mother's condition. I can't believe how much things have changed in just 3 weeks. This is truly the lowest point in my life. The only thing keeping me from taking drastic action is my son. Update. Consider this a release and a confession. I physically confronted my brother severely because he wrecked my family. If you haven't read my previous posts, I'll sum it up for you. The whole situation boils down to my wife and my brother having an affair, leading to the birth of a child, which they expected me to raise without me even knowing. I'm currently in the process of getting a divorce. I've also filed multiple reports against my brother, including vandalism, medical substances-related issues, and abusive behavior. Additionally, I'm pursuing legal action against him for having an affair with my wife, which is possible in my location. This could potentially result in him serving 2 years in jail. It would also limit his ability to travel to respected or well-developed countries and secure employment at reputable companies. But here's the real kicker. I wasn't satisfied with just legal consequences. He managed to turn my mother against me, which tore my family apart, and I felt the need for revenge. 4 days before his arrest, when he was in hiding, I located him and physically confronted him. I didn't inflict severe damage on him because, despite everything, he was still my younger brother. He ended up in the hospital and understood that he couldn't file a complaint against me since I have influential connections. If he tried to contact the police, he would have been arrested anyway. Currently, he's still in the hospital as a result of the injuries from our altercation and has been taken into custody by the authorities. My sister and I have already disassociated ourselves from our family property, and he can have it all as far as we're concerned. He's a deceitful individual who lived in the shadow of both me and my father before betraying me. I have no regrets about my actions. He meddled with my family, leading to the breakdown of my dreams, hard work, and the disintegration of my family. It doesn't provide me with any comfort, but I don't have any regrets. The only regret I have is that I can't turn back time to relive those happy memories. But who am I to complain? Update. I want to apologize for not being a good lover and husband to you in the past. Our lives became entangled with issues and I lost my way in the process. People often say I'm a great son, father, and husband, but I always question if I was a good lover. If I were, it wouldn't have driven you into the arms of another man. This year will be the last time we celebrate New Year's as a family. Little did we know it would also be the last of every holiday we spent together. Our marriage, spanning over a decade, is coming to an end, with our son looking at us, silently wishing we wouldn't divorce. We both know it's for the best. I need to heal from the betrayal and the scars you've given me, and you need to heal from your own issues. You were undoubtedly the best thing that happened to me, and while I'm still angry, upset, and mourning the end of our marriage, I still respect you. Love, I'm not so sure about. Some days are tough, and some are just strange. I've been having severe headaches, and the doctor has warned me to control my blood pressure to avoid a stroke, but it doesn't bother me much anymore. Perhaps I'm already emotionally numb. The only thing that bothers me is you, and I know you're going through tough times too. I know you miss your parents, and you're aware they're not happy with you because of your actions. I know you blame yourself for lying about our daughter's paternity, but you're a mother, someone the children will look up to. In 10 years, we might be the most flexible co-parents ever. Maybe you'll find someone who loves you more than I did, and perhaps you'll love him too. The current path might be the best for everyone, including us. Our son seems happy today, although we both know he's still sad about the divorce. He's trying not to make it awkward for us because he knows it would hurt us. He's eager to light fireworks and take thousands of pictures because he doesn't want to miss any moments with us before the divorce is finalized. One more thing. I'm aware that I did a terrible thing by offending my brother because of what he did. But do I have any regrets? No. He betrayed me when I had taken care of him in his time of need. A person can forget deep trauma, but they can't forget a brutal betrayal. I know you still have feelings for him, and you're in a position where you love us both. I won't ask you to choose, because I know you feel guilty for what you did. However, I hope you can hold off on making a decision until we're divorced and I'm out of the picture. You can be with him and pursue your dream life, my love. Thank you for all the memories. That's all I can say right now. This is the story of my life. Event and reflections. I was born in 1981, during a time of development and progress, but also chaos and disorganization. My country had been established just a decade before my birth. My father was a low-ranking officer, and my mother was the daughter of a landlord. They got married, and our family's fortunes grew rapidly because our land was in the busiest and wealthiest area of the country. I am the eldest son in our family, on both sides. I became the shining example because I studied and achieved excellent grades, which was unusual in the 90s. I became a role model for my younger cousins and siblings. I was loved by everyone, but not by the one I wished for. In 1997, when I was 16, I met a girl and fell in love with her. She was beautiful, and over time, we became deeply attached to each other. In 1999, she suddenly stopped attending classes, and no one knew where she went. After a week, her best friend handed me a letter addressed to me. In the letter, she explained that she was relocating to the United States with her family, and thanked me for our time together. She expressed her love for me. Now, after 22 years, she is happily married with 3 kids in the U.S., and we talked recently several months ago. A few years later, I found myself in a desk job that paid well, even though I had never been interested in desk jobs. I thought about it, and as I was starting my career, the first job I landed paid me well and didn't require excessive work. It seemed like a good opportunity. Over the years, I constructed buildings, invested in stocks, and managed money that contributed to our growth. Now, we own a total of 14 apartment buildings in our city. 4 of them are mine, and 10 are under my mom's name, as well as several shops and markets. We've established strong connections with politicians and local authorities, and we are financially stable. However, this newfound wealth further spoiled my family. My younger brother was a young and innocent child, but he was indulged by my mom's financial support, excessive spending, and a lack of discipline. He was the spoiled kid who received money from our parents and didn't care. I tried to talk to my mom about this, but it didn't lead to any change. He was, after all, my brother, and I had played a role in it too. In 2006, my mom suggested a girl for me, and they came from a decent family. We were financially stable, I had a good income, and my dad was retired. I thought, why not? We got married, and over the years, our bond grew stronger. She embraced my family as her own, and my family reciprocated that love, treating her like a daughter. She blessed me with a son, and my love for her deepened. Everyone adored my son, especially my mom, who cherished him. Then, in 2012, my sister left for the Netherlands, and her journey wasn't easy. She now owns property in the Netherlands, has citizenship, and has applied for a green card. However, as time went on, my brother became more spoiled, turning into the family's troublemaker. We received complaints about his medical substances and drinks use, which led to conflicts with my mom. I, too, would argue with my mom because I felt she was spoiling him, and my attempts to reason with him failed. Over the years, the situation worsened, and he was even arrested at one point. I had to intervene and speak to the officers to get him released. Our family's reputation and my own recognition helped resolve these matters. During this time, my work also became demanding. We had moved from youth to middle age, following the cycle of life, gradually becoming like our parents, the very individuals we used to look up to. The excitement of life and marriage had turned into routine, filled with stress, and I found myself less attracted to my wife. My libido decreased, perhaps due to stress. 2 years after this change, it was revealed that my wife and my brother were having an affair, resulting in her pregnancy with our daughter. Though she isn't biologically mine, I can't bear to part with her. This discovery triggered a devastating chain of events that tore my family apart. My sister, who had returned from the Netherlands, cut off contact with our entire family. My wife was devastated, but she knew that this day would come sooner or later. My mom suffered a severe stroke, my dad had been emotionally distant for a while, and the home he had built was destroyed. My son was deeply affected as well. While he doesn't know the whole story, he is aware of the impending divorce, and he's been remarkably understanding, something that makes me proud. My wife is trying to salvage our marriage, but we have both already signed the divorce papers, set to be finalized next month. She will receive 20% of my income as spousal and child support for 3 years, child support until our daughter turns 18, and she won't receive any of the assets as they belonged to me before our marriage. She has accepted these terms. I will remain the legal guardian until our son turns 17, while she will be the guardian for our daughter until she reaches puberty, at which point I will become her legal guardian until she turns 18. My brother is currently in jail, recovering from his injuries but in need of rest. He received a 1-year sentence for medical substances use and having an affair with my wife. I can't say I feel good about this. I've talked to my dad, her father, and her mother, and they've all told me that it's entirely my decision whether I want to try again with her in a few years or not. I haven't spoken to her yet. The demise of a marriage is one of the most painful things to witness. I love her, but I know this is the right path. I'm planning to take my son to the Netherlands, and I don't need any application or permission from my soon-to-be ex-wife since I'm the legal guardian. My mom has been making efforts to rebuild our bond, and I've spent time with my favorite uncle, who suggested giving her another chance. People make mistakes, and what she did was unforgivable, but it won't change anything. It will be a punishment for her, but even so, giving her space and time to change is essential for both of us. My mom has been suggesting that I get married again, but I haven't discussed that with her. I've also submitted my resignation. It's time to bring this chapter to a close. Life can be frustrating at times, and I've always wanted to visit Mecca, a holy place for us, with my family. But now my family seems to consist of just my son and me. I don't want to bring anyone else, and in a few years, once all the paperwork is finalized, I plan to move to the Netherlands. I can't just leave abruptly because I have so many responsibilities here. This was a way to get things off my chest. I'm not sure if it all makes sense. Things have been challenging, and I apologize for the disorganized presentation. To anyone who has listened this far, thank you for your time. Update. I have a lot on my mind right now. I'm feeling queasy, and my hands are shaking as I write this. There's much I want to say, but I find it hard to put into words. Today is Sunday, a bittersweet day. It marks the end of my marriage, as our divorce was finalized earlier this morning, concluding almost 16 years together. Mixed emotions swirl within me. Part of me is relieved, yet part of me is downcast. I loved that woman. She was the second love of my life. She also brought me to my lowest. I'm at a loss for words. To update you, our custody arrangement is as follows. I'm the legal guardian of my son until he turns 20. She's the legal guardian of our daughter until she reaches puberty. After that, until she gets married, I'll be her legal guardian. My daughter is going to spend these initial years with her as she's only 10 months old. However, I can visit her whenever I want. In my country, the birth certificate is issued after a child is a year old, so I'll be signing it, as she is my daughter. I'll have to pay spousal support for her for 3 years and child support until both kids turn 18. It amounts to around 20% of my income, which is approximately $1,000 when converted to USD. It's essential to note that the cost of living in our country is lower than in the US. I don't need to pay alimony, just a type of dowry known as dienmar, but not exactly dowry. I've also transferred one of my apartments to her name, not for her, but for the sake of our daughter. I want my kids to grow up in a safe and comfortable environment. Despite what she did, I can't expose them to danger. Her family has disowned her entirely, but her mother will maintain contact, and her sisters will help care for my daughter. My ex-wife spoke to me after our divorce. I could see that she hadn't slept, but she thanked me for the years together and asked for my forgiveness. This time, I told her that I did forgive her. We wished each other the best of luck and parted ways. I know she was sad and heartbroken, and so was I. It was perhaps the best course of action. I've resigned from my job since my family's property provides sufficient income, rendering the job unnecessary. I'm planning to take a few months off now. When I signed the final papers, it felt like a massive burden had been lifted from my shoulders. I'll be visiting my mom in a few hours and spending the night at my house. I recall saying that I wouldn't consider dating, feeling that my youth had passed. I'm turning 40 this year. Normally, at 40, people start planning for retirement and paving the way for the next generation. But it seems like I'm restarting at 40. I met a cousin of one of my friends on New Year's Day. She's 29 and left a strong impression on me. It turns out she's the therapist I've been looking for all along, and I can't express how significant that is. I saw her again on January 14th at a festival, and we ended up in bed after a night of drinking. I'm not proud of that. We've become friends, and I learned that she was planning to get engaged, but her boyfriend passed away. It took her 7 years to let go of her grief, during which she tried dating, but it wasn't successful. My wife knows about her, but we haven't discussed it or our feelings. Everything is quite messy, and it's been a tumultuous 4 months with significant changes in my life. My son has grown up, and I'm proud of him. I had initially planned to visit the Netherlands, but I've decided against it. This is the place where I was born, where my forefathers were born and laid to rest. My legacy resides here, and I want my sons and their sons to know about our history and heritage. I don't see how I can achieve that in the Netherlands. My girlfriend, the therapist I mentioned, suggested visiting, but I turned down her offer. Tonight it's just going to be me, and I've got a bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm uncertain about what lies ahead on this journey. I don't feel better or worse. I'm merely indifferent. I'm nauseous, and all I want is a good night's sleep. I wish it were all just a dream that I could forget. I don't know if I'll ever have a good relationship with my brother, my mom, my dad, or even my ex-wife again. Things will never be the same. I do, however, respect her as the mother of my kids, and I'll try to be there for her. My ex-father-in-law reached out to me, expressing his regret for not being a better father to ensure his daughter's upbringing. In life, some things are meant to be a certain way. We invest time, money, and effort, but ultimately, the decision or choice isn't entirely ours. Such are the sacrifices made by both men and women. I have great admiration for people who have gone through such a traumatic period in life. Until yesterday, I often wondered if I made the right decision to get a divorce. That thought still lingers in my mind, and I'm unsure if I made the right choice. I'm unsure if I'll ever get over this betrayal or if I can truly start anew. For tonight, it's just me. My son is with my mom and will stay there for the night. This is it, folks, this is it. Here's to the journey ahead, the life ahead, and here's to the pain and to the people who have reached out to me. Comment. It's been only 4 months, and you've gone through a whirlwind of events, from discovering your wife's pregnancy with your brother, to physically confronting him, cutting off ties with your mother, divorcing your ex, and even dating again. I must say, that's an incredibly rapid sequence of life-altering changes, and it's a lot for a child to handle in such a short time. I understand you may believe your son can comprehend and process all of this, but he's still a child, and the pace at which all of this has happened is far from what could be considered normal. It's crucial to remember that your son needs a stable and healthy environment. He has witnessed you leaving for a brief period, cutting ties with family members, learning distressing information about his uncle, and losing his mother in just 4 months. The depth of trauma your child is experiencing must be significant, and as a child, he doesn't have the emotional maturity to process all of this properly. Instead, he might be bottling up his feelings while you praise him for growing up. This approach invalidates the incredibly challenging experience he's going through. You need to provide your son with an environment of normalcy and stability. Don't force him to suppress his emotions, and don't pretend that everything is okay. It's not okay. Your son deserves a chance to process what has happened in a healthy way, so he can have the possibility of developing normal relationships in the future. Misuse can be a generational cycle, and the same unhealthy patterns that affected us as children can impact our own children. We often fail to recognize the extent of the misuse, and we may make statements like, "I'm proud of you for growing up," even when our children had no part in the upheaval of their lives and are not emotionally equipped to understand the consequences. This kind of manipulation continues the cycle of misuse. Be a better father by seeking help for your son so he doesn't experience the same traumatic events that you did. I've witnessed too many children facing long-term problems because their parents couldn't see what is healthy or unhealthy for their child. Your son is not just a character in your life. His feelings are valid and should be acknowledged. However, he's in a vulnerable position and may not fully grasp or process his emotions yet.